So, we're gonna continue on the foreign policy, I guess we could say. George Bush was, remember when Trump, on the debate stage said the it came out of it came down under your reign, under your brother's reign. Boo! Boo. Oh, it's true. And Bush ignored memos, and these are horrific attacks on 9/11. We will never forget. Always remember the, uh, you know, um, uh, um, very, thousands and thousands of people died. Or thousands of people died, tens of thousands affected, thousands injured. We will never forget that god awful day. Um, I think we both can agree, as to a Latino and a Muslim, that unfortunately, there was a lot of racism with the Muslim registry. That was Bush and all of that. It's not
the fly list or whatever. Mm-hmm.
The fly list, no fly list zone, whatever. But your neighbors who are Muslim are not the reason 9/11 was caused.
We were just as heartbroken for the losses as everyone else was.
And there were Muslims on those planes.
Mm-hmm.
So
there were Muslims who died in the World Trade Center. In the Pentagon. They worked with the U.S. government, but their practicing faith was Islam.
That's right.
Freedom of religion, right?
Freedom of religion, which that's murky. That's a gray area. But again, I just had to get that out of the way. So Bush could have prevented 9/11. If not prevented it, why didn't we have planes ready to go by the towers? Well, the reason is before someone else had authority, and Heather, I forget the name, but someone else. The president is the person who gives the authority for launches for the fighter jets.
Yes,
well, before 9/11 in the 1980s, it was somebody else who had the authority. Well, they couldn't get a hold of Bush. Well, that's why we didn't have planes in New York. Again, even at top speed, they couldn't get there until both towers were hit. And they're like, oh, these are on fire. We're out of here.
Yeah.
So let's go into how Bush lied repeatedly on 9/11.
They're now letting you know, secret 9/11 memo reveals Bush was rewriting the history of 9/11 attacks on the warnings he'd tuned out. And the warnings he'd tuned out. Wait a minute. George Bush lied about 9/11? Get out.
Breaking news. Breaking news now. George Bush lied about 9/11.
No.
News now. Oh, I am so shocked.
What?
I am so shocked.
You're telling me that idiot, alcoholic, dude, war criminal, you're telling me what?
Lied about 9/11? Shit, I thought he was the most honest person in the world, bro. I thought he was being real.
Me too.
Ooh, okay. I thought he was smoking some honesty weed. He was smoking some honesty grass.
Bluegrass.
Drink that truth serum.
You guys.
Come
on. On April 29, 2004, President George W. Bush hosted one of the most unusual meetings to ever take place inside the Oval Office. The 10 members of the 9/11 Commission got to ask him and Vice President Dick Cheney any question they wanted about the September 11th attacks.
As long as Dick Cheney approved it, anyway.
The words that were spoken in that room remained secret for nearly 2 decades. Now we can finally read what Bush said. Earlier this month, after more than 18 years, the government declassified a 31-page memorandum for the record, which compiles notes that the commissioners took during the meeting. Now, if you remember, George Bush would not testify in front of that committee without Dick Cheney next to him and without it being secret.
Okay, so again, Bush trying to avoid accountability here. Naeem, why do you think he would, A, not do it if it wasn't in secret, and B, not do it without Dick Cheney next to him?
It's all about manufacturing consent. It's all about making sure that people feel, these 9/11 Commission people feel, that they're actually being given access to the information, that they're not being locked out. But they really are being locked out. They really are being locked out from the reality that George W. Bush was being yanked on the chain by by Dick Cheney because Dick Cheney was his puppet master. Dick Cheney was his dog owner. Dick Cheney was all them shits. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dick Cheney was giving him dick in the process too.
I mean, come on. After he shot somebody in the face.
Yeah. See, and then he shot his load all over Bush's face. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dick. Such a good guy. But I think it's also exactly one. Dick Cheney is a pro-war fucking maniac, and he received.
We got to get into Iraq.
Gotta get into Iraq. But in the 1990s, he said, "Why the fuck?" In the 90s, he said, "Why the fuck would we go into Iraq? There's no strategy. We have no reason to be in Iraq. We have no exit strategy. Why?" Well, then Halliburton gave him hundreds of millions of dollars, and he went, "I think we should go into Iraq." That's incredibly funny. So, that's before he became vice president. When he was become vice president, they gave him millions of dollars. So
Dick Cheney's still alive, by the way.
Yes.
So why don't they put him up in jail?
Well, again, why don't they put Bush up in jail? Well, both of them aren't allowed in Canada.
They best not be allowed in Canada.
Arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And they've said, any of these guys go, like Jenny DeSantos, who was the CIA director, any of these guys come, we're arresting them. We don't give a damn. Mm-hmm. So again, we let our criminals get away with things. And George Bush needed Dick Cheney because everything ran through Dick Cheney. You had an alcoholic president in office who didn't do anything. Dick Cheney did it all. Oh, and why didn't he testify in public where we could all see?
Yeah, instead of holding this closed door meeting at the Oval Office.
And then hiding it for
if he was really not afraid of hiding shit, he should have come out and given a speech to everyone and done public comment and have us all come around and ask the White House, the White House ask President Bush to answer for everything.
Well, but he didn't testify in Congress. I wonder why the President of the United States didn't testify in Congress. Probably because he's culpable. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And we let that happen. Well, you know why? Because our media is bought by the military-industrial complex, which wanted a war in Iraq.
That's absolutely true. For 2 years, between 2002 and 2003, 2001 and 2003, they lied about Iraq. Dick Cheney went to that New York Times writer, Julie, whatever her name was, Judy. Oh my God, I forget what her name is. And he said, "Hey, tell them that they have vials." And then she repeated it. "Oh, I'm Dick Cheney." And she repeated that they had vials, and they never did. And they lied about Iraq. They got the American people on their side, and guess what? It was all a big lie. But that's because the military-industrial complex wanted a war. The media was funded by the military-industrial complex, and that's why they let Bush get away with this. That's why no one in the media was asking, "Why ain't Bush talking?" Mm-hmm. Why? Because they're all funded. There's this corruption. We cover this on the channel for a reason.
And even still, the 9/11 Commission in the report was like the only report produced by the federal government that was like more flawed and politically manipulated than the JFK assassination.
They all denounced it. Didn't every member of the fucking committee denounce the thing?
Yeah.
The document shows the commissioners giving Bush multiple chances to acknowledge the numerous documented warnings he'd received from his own government of impending attacks by Al-Qaeda. For the most part, Bush failed to do so. Instead, he passed the buck. Perhaps the largest of Bush's evasions that day concerned his CIA director, George Tenet. The threat was overseas. That was what...
I made a mistake in the live stream description. It's George Tenet.
What George said. Bush's implication at the time is clear. He wanted the commission, and by extension the public, to think that no one could have anticipated Al-Qaeda mounting a large-scale attack on U.S. soil. But in fact, Tenet's CIA had warned Bush more than once that Al-Qaeda could strike anywhere at any time, and that all U.S. citizens were potential targets. The most notorious warnings that Bush received, but not the only one, was a CIA briefing headline. The headline was, "Bin Laden determined to strike the U.S." Very little of Bush's...
Anything? Couldn't be more obvious. Couldn't be more obvious, right? Couldn't be more obvious.
Right, couldn't be more obvious. And that Bush ignored those memos. Bin Laden determined to strike. And what did he tell the CIA? Good, you covered your ass. Go home. That's what he said, because Bushy boy, good old Bushy Bush, was on vacation. That's the problem. He ignored all those memos. And Jimmy Dore's going to go over. He created this lax environment in the intelligence community.
Because he didn't want to worry about it. He just wanted to party all day and collect all that money and,
And Dick Cheney wanted a war, so he wasn't going to do anything. We could have not had a war, and thousands of Americans die, and tens of thousands be injured. And our kids today that were born at the time of 9/11 are going to the war their parents served in.
Yeah.
We could have avoided all of that had Bush not ignored those memos.
Yep.
So that lie that he's saying, hey, I didn't know. Come on. Who was going to know that they were going to mount an attack? He knew. He absolutely knew. He absolutely knew. That question that was asked to Nixon, what did the president know and when did he know it? What did Bush know and when did he know it? He knew it all.
To strike the U.S. Very little of Bush's excuse-making and clumsy attempts to rewrite history found their way into the 9/11 Commission's report. Really? Indeed, one of the commissioners, Richard Ben Venesti, told Insider he still had questions today about what Bush knew and when. I
think the whole public wants to know what did Bush know and when.
Bush best get his ass out there and explain everything to us now, or he's going to serve some time in prison.
If only we had a government and a media that actually would do that.
Could never square in my mind CIA Director's intense preoccupation with the Al-Qaeda threat in the months leading up to 9/11 with his claim that he never briefed President Bush on the many clues the intelligence community had developed that bin Laden was planning to launch a spectacular attack on the U.S. homeland, Benaviste said. The commissioner's reports approach to the commission report's approach to the mystery is to make the apparent disconnect between CIA and the Oval Office sound like something out of a Greek tragedy.
Anything? Any you want to?
I mean, I don't know. Me personally, I'm not too surprised because we always knew, especially many American Muslims knew, that Bush was intentionally being complacent. Because he wanted to frame more contexts in order to blame the outsider threat, to blame Muslims. Islamophobia was really actually there for him. And, well, I mean, if there was even the slightest suspicion that there would be an attack, I mean, I might be accusing him here without evidence, so I apologize, but he'd let the attack happen in order to manufacture consent. In order to make sure we prepare for a war, in order to make sure we produce an environment that's Islamophobic.
No one working on these
Sorry about that. Press the button. Exactly. And Noam Chomsky talked about manufactured consent. And Bush wanted that war. He needed that war. They got paid to do that war. They were the military industrial complex donated to Bush's campaign. Of course they wanted that war.
Al-Qaeda leads in the summer of 2001 connected them to the high level of threat reporting. No analytic work foresaw the lightning that could connect the thundercloud to the ground. What the new memo makes clear is that the White House's lack of urgency in facing down the domestic Al-Qaeda threat wasn't all that complicated. Tenet, the record shows, did everything he could to get Bush to focus on Al-Qaeda. Bush just wasn't interested.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested.
Yeah, bro, I'm interested. I really just want to pop open a bottle.
Pop open a bottle here in my ranch in Texas, and I want to shoot it. I want to do shooting. Wow, not interested. Not interested in protecting the country. What are you doing?
No, just interested in getting drunk.
What are
trying
you
to mimic Bush here as he pops open a bottle?
What were you doing?
This Bush pops open a bottle.
No, I'm serious. What were you doing? It's like, it sounded like whipped cream / snorting of something.
Oh yeah, I'm snorting that Coke. You know, Bush used to do Coke too. You know that, right?
Yeah, he was in the 90s. He was a fucking raging alcoholic.
Yeah, And he used to love his cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to understand how Bush escaped blame for 9/11, winning a second term despite having presided over one of the gravest and most costly failures in presidential history, you need to understand exactly what happened that day in the Oval Office almost 20 years ago. The White House had negotiated for the joint meeting where Bush and Cheney would sit and answer questions together. But Bush didn't lean too heavily on this accommodation.
You know why? Another reason why they had Cheney there is to control Bush, to make sure that he didn't accidentally fucking reveal something that would incriminate him further. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
President was well briefed and answered our questions fully. One of the 9/11 commissioners, Governor Thomas H. Keene of New Jersey, told Insider, the president's demeanor throughout was relaxed, notes the memo. He answered questions without notes.
Yeah, because they gave him his notes. Dick Cheney told him what to say. Bush was an idiot, but he wasn't that dumb.
Mm-hmm.
He knew exactly what to say. Dick Cheney told him what to say. That's why he was well versed. That's why he was well briefed. That's why he had no notes. Because him and Dick Cheney met that morning and they did the briefing. That's why.
2 weeks before the committee's Oval Office meeting, the commission had heard from Tenet. His public testimony raised more questions than it answered, especially about what Bush knew and when.
Oh.
In the spring and summer of 2001, Tenet had warned Bush no fewer than 40 separate times that a major attack by Al Qaeda was on the horizon.
40 separate times minimum. 40 separate times that we're going to get attacked. And Bush ignored every one of those memos. Every single one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Analysts called the flood of warnings a threat spike and the summer of threat.
Ah.
Nevertheless, Bush chose to spend most of August at his ranch in Crawford, Texas, on a working vacation.
Yeah, okay. Working vacation. You mean that that summer when people were going to work, all those people in the towers that were going to work, they didn't have to die? Oh, okay.
Shortly after arriving on August 6th, he'd received the detailed president's daily brief from the CIA with its direct warning that bin Laden intended to strike inside the U.S. By 2004, after the PDB became public, commentators were taking seriously the possibility that Bush had one job, keep the country safe, and that he failed to do it.
No. We created a torture program. We started a war in Afghanistan, sending our troops into harm's way. We created a war in Iraq, sending our troops into harm's way. We started drone strikes, sending our troops and civilians into harm's way. No. Okay.
If only Osama had faxed an X marks the spot map to the Crawford Ranch showing the Pentagon, the Capitol, the Twin Towers, and the word boom scrawled in Arabic, wrote Maureen Dowd in the New York Times opinion columnist at the time. That might have sparked sluggish imaginations, or maybe not. Fortunately for Bush, the 9/11
do that. I want to hear that one again. Do that. Let's hear that one again. Oh.
If only Osama had faxed an X marks the spot map to the Crawford Ranch showing the Pentagon, the Capitol, the Twin Towers, and the word boom scrawled in Arabic, wrote Maureen Dowd in the New York Times opinion columnist at the time. That might have sparked sluggish imaginations, or maybe not.
Maybe.
Fortunately for Bush, the 9/11 Commission report.
I don't know. I don't know. Bush was too busy eating barbecue and drinking beer. Ignoring memos. I don't know if that.
You won't know how to read the word "boom" in Arabic. Yeah, you won't know how to read the word "boom" in Arabic.
I think it says "boom," baby. I think it says "boom shakalaka," "bombastic," "bomb." What the? Okay.
Dowd in the New York Times opinion columnist at the time. That might have sparked sluggish imaginations, or maybe not. Fortunately for Bush, the 9/11 Commission report was careful not to point the finger directly at the sitting president. While the report acknowledges that the August 6th President's Daily Briefing headlined Bin Laden determined to strike in the United States, it states unequivocally that there is no indication of any further discussion by Bush and his team regarding a domestic terror attack.
No further discussion.
No further discussion. All right. No further discussion.
Let's wait until it's too late, when over 5,000 Americans will die. Let's wait, shall we? Let's wait. And how many people were injured? How many families were scarred? How much money did the life insurance companies have to dish out because of Bush? They still donated to him. But my field is life insurance, so I had to make that joke. Yeah. Or my dad said it was a joke. Anyway, I didn't directly point the finger at the sitting president. Why not? Why not? He was exactly the problem. George Tenet, I mean, he participated in some crazy shit. He did what he needed to do. He did his job. Bush didn't do his. How do you not point the finger at him? I don't get it.
Because you just don't.
Reading the commission's report, one can see a torrent of warnings coming out of the CIA and a sense of growing alarm among Bush's counterterrorism team. But the failure of those loud and repeated warnings to reach Bush's brain is attributed mainly to institutional problems. Issues with imagination, policy, capabilities, and management. Unlike Dowd, the commission chose not to question Bush's competence.
Yeah, they can't question Bush's competence, all right.
I mean, hold on. You're going to tell me that everyone was concerned but the White House? Everybody was concerned. Every goddamn person in the counterterrorism organizations in the government.
Yep,
and they were concerned. They were concerned. But not Bush. Not good old Bush. Good old Bush was not worried or concerned at all.
Not at all.
We chose not to assign individual responsibility for the failure to prevent 9/11.
We chose not to assign individual responsibility. Huh.
Viste, the former commissioner of 9/11, commissioner said, but rather to lay out the facts we had uncovered and allow the public and ultimately history to make judgments based on the factual record.
Let's allow the public and history to judge based on facts they don't have.
Not the commission assigned to do so. No.
The commission that we paid millions of dollars in taxpayer dollars and taxpayer funds to pay to determine who was responsible, to judge who was responsible, to make a judgment. Not them. They're not responsible. The commission that's responsible is not responsible. We are. The people we hired. Amazing. Incredible.
On the question of pre-9/11 warnings, Bush stuck to a few points. First, according to Bush, the al-Qaeda threat, as was presented to him, was almost exclusively overseas. Second, the extent that al-Qaeda posed a threat to the U.S. soil, Bush says that no one told him how, when, or where it would strike. There was, in his view, no actionable intelligence, not about Osama bin Laden, not about al-Qaeda personnel on U.S. soil.
Lies. All lies. All lies.
August 6th briefing about bin Laden's intentions, he said, was historical in nature. Other than that, Bush claimed he had never been informed about the potential for an attack on the U.S. There was no such actionable intelligence on such a threat, he told the commission. Not one.
Not one. I mean, what's your take here?
Breaking news is all I have to say. No. We all
All
knew
these lies.
We knew he was dropping the ball, bro. We certainly knew he was dropping the ball.
Yeah, I mean, just absolute stupidity and culpability here. Absolute. So
Third, Bush didn't think it was productive to assign responsibility for pre-9/11 failures to individuals. It should not be about blaming people, he said, because you'd be blamed. That's why.
oh gee, don't blame people because I'm the one that people are gonna point the finger to.
No need to blame.
No need to blame people. I'm telling you something. We don't need to blame people. Yeah, because you would get blamed for your failures as the commander-in-chief. Most powerful dude in the world, and you'd get blamed. That's why he didn't want to assign individual blame. That's why.
It's like nothing had to do with human error, right?
Nope. Nope.
The country was ill-served by playing the blame game. The president didn't see much point in assigning personal blame for 9/11. Nobody wants to see something like this happen. They would have moved heaven and earth to stop it.
You didn't. You didn't, Bush. You didn't move heaven and earth. You didn't get your ass off your fucking couch in the ranch, put your beer bottle down, and go and take care of this issue.
It didn't even move your ass cheeks, let alone heaven and earth.
Exactly.
Didn't even move
Bush's repeated insistence that he was never informed of a specific threat on U.S. soil will be hard to take seriously by anyone who has read the August 6th presidential daily briefing. Bush told the commission that the PDB was historical in nature. A few weeks after the 9/11 attacks, Bush paid a visit to the Counterterrorism Center at the CIA. He walked through the corridors, making small talk and shaking hands. "Go get him," someone shouted to Bush, according to a former CIA employee who was there at the time. Bush looked stunned for a moment, then came his reply, "That's your job."
No, it isn't.
We did our job. We told you this was a shit that was going to happen. You didn't listen to us.
Exactly. We told you this was going to happen. We told you to go get these guys in the beginning. And you didn't listen to us. You never listened to us. That's your job. We did our fucking job, you asshole.
Wow. I don't think anybody could have predicted that these people would take an airplane and slam it into the World Trade Center. Even in retrospect, there was nothing to suggest this. So that's called a professional liar and a war criminal. And she is the dregs of humanity, just like George Bush and Dick Cheney and everybody else in that administration. There is no one that she is a moral superior to.
Exactly. Nobody.
No one. Alex Jones, she's killed way more people. Alex Jones didn't start a torture program. She did. And she's lying.
Alex Jones didn't start the war in Afghanistan. Alex Jones didn't start the war in Iraq. Alex Jones didn't partner us up with Saudi Arabia, who got the Sunnis to go kill our troops in Iraq in 04 or 05. Alex Jones didn't cause the subprime mortgage crisis that caused a lot of those problems we talked about on the last live stream about the 9.3 million people getting kicked out of their homes. He didn't cause a Great Recession. Now he voted for a lot of people that did. Alex Jones didn't go into Libya and turn it into a terrorist state and a terrorist vacuum and a slave market and overthrow Gaddafi. Alex Jones didn't go into Syria and occupy a third of Syria for the oil. Alex Jones didn't do any of that. Alex Jones also didn't have a 90% civilian death rate with drone strikes. Alex Jones didn't have that. She did. Bush did. Obama did. Jake Sullivan, Biden, Antony Blinken, who you claim is the best Secretary of State in the 21st century. That's why he's droning people as we speak. That's why we have concentration camps in our country. That's what. Again,
he's still better than all the other 21st century secretaries.
In what way? When he's continuing their policies,
he's not good, but he's better than Condoleezza Rice. He's better than
he's not.
Pompeo. He's better than Hillary Clinton.
Is that why
he's better than John Kerry.
Is that why he's still going after Julian Assange?
I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying he's.
In what way is he better? For handling a few diplomatic things diplomatically. What? Why is he still putting out propaganda on Iran?
Yeah, but isn't a few better than zero?
No,
Condoleezza Rice did 0. Hillary Clinton
no,
did 0. John Kerry did
no,
0. Mike
no.
Pompeo
Just
did 0.
no, because
He's
then
not
you're making
amazing.
then you're making a
He's
mistake
not
about the
good. He's just
because then you're
better. He's
making the
not
same
good. He's
mistake we
just
make about
better.
the
I'm not saying
Democrats.
he's good.
No, because then you're making the mistake that we make with the Democrats. Well, he's better because he's not racist. Oh, he's better because he agrees on this. He's better because he's not a homophobe. He's still gonna vote for the same bullshit as the other Republicans. Anthony Blinken is still doing
What are
drone
you
strikes.
saying? Don't have. What are you saying? What are you saying? Don't have any diplomatic effort whatsoever.
I say that
We
just
need at
because
least some
no, I say
some
just
semblance
because
of a
you have a few, I
Department of
say
Peace.
just because you have a few, just because you have a few doesn't make you better. They all had diplomatic, sir. They do that on purpose so that certain people come out and say, "Oh, he's better than the last one because, well, at least he had some diplomatic things."
I still think he's better than Condoleezza
Absolutely not.
Rice. He's better than Mike
Absolutely not.
Pompeo. He's better than Hillary Clinton. He's better than John Kerry.
Hillary Clinton stopped
I
the
don't think he's
ceasefire
good.
in
I
Israel.
don't think he's amazing.
Hillary Clinton.
Better doesn't
Hillary
mean
Clinton
good.
stopped the-
Better doesn't mean amazing.
Better
Better
doesn't
doesn't
mean
mean
better
good.
either. Hillary Clinton stopped got the ceasefire to happen in with Hamas and Gaza and Israel. But that doesn't mean she was still better than Condoleezza Rice or Mike Pompeo or James Baker. It doesn't mean that. Why? When he still continue, he's better, yet he worked with Hillary Clinton to go into Libya. Explain to me that.
I don't think he's good. I'm not
He's
saying
not
he's
even
good.
better. He's not even better. You go up and down the list, and he's bad on every single policy. Oh, he does a few little diplomatic things. What about the major things? Why aren't we leaving Iran alone? Why aren't we letting go of their sanctions? Oh, now we reach a new oil deal with Venezuela just to avoid Russia. But he was for overthrowing Nicolas Maduro.
Okay, so you're saying if let's say the Iran thing. So you're saying John Kerry was better because he established the Iran nuclear deal.
I don't think he was better, but on the issue of Iran, yes, he was definitely better. Now, Biden didn't want the Iran nuclear deal,
Of course not.
and we're seeing that now. He won't even sign it back into law. When the Iranians were like, "Yeah, Biden, let's go," and now we got the Ayatollah in charge.
Well, and now we can't sign it back into law because Iran is doing all kinds of horrible shit to their people. So it wouldn't look good for us to sign it back into law. So yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And guess who ruined that? Joe Biden. Guess who ruined that? Anthony Blinken. Why wasn't Blinken on Biden's ass to sign that? Because them and Israel want war with Iran. And I just because he does a couple things better, every single Secretary of State will do a bunch of horrible shit and then say, "Hey, but I did these few diplomatic things." Doesn't make you any better than the last one. If you're still if Anthony Blinken said, "We're not going to bomb Afghanistan anymore. We're going to get out of Syria. We're going to help. We're just going to leave Libya alone." By the way, they're bombing Libya again, but they're bombing Somalia, which Trump stopped bombing Somalia. Trump left the southern Horn of Africa alone in Eritrea. And Ethiopia, right? I'm not sure if they're in the same place, but he left them alone. Biden is not leaving them alone. He's making the situation worse. And who's in charge of that? The Secretary of State. Who's the Secretary of State? Anthony Blinken. So anyway, let's continue on this.
Here's George Bush.
We must stop the terror.
Oh,
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop
He's
these
holding a
terrorist
golf club.
killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive. All right, you need another.
Hitting a golf ball and calling on nations to stop the terror.
Nice follow through.
You know what? As it relates to my brother, there's one thing I know for sure. He kept us safe.
Jeb Bush. Jebby Bush. He kept us safe by starting a torture program, by sending our brothers and sisters into war. Not my brothers and sisters. We're rich. By what else did he do? Oh, he occupied Libya. Saddam Hussein killed terrorists, by the way. Trump was right on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's more terrorists in Iran. In Iraq. How did he make us safe? I don't understand.
They just say it. They just say it. And Chris Christie.
Look, I'm happy that the passports survived the jet fuel, so we know exactly what happened on 9/11 and at World Trade Center, Tower 7, and at the Pentagon. We know exactly what happened.
How do we know exactly what happened with the passport? How did the passport survive? Ain't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that we know that the passport survived the flames? Ain't nobody's suitcases were found. Nobody's notebooks were found. Nobody's phones at the time were found. No, the soda boxes on the plane weren't found. Nothing else but the passports. Ain't that suspicious?
Mm-hmm.
They found the hijackers' passports.
We have all the answers.
So we know everything. And Building 7 got no questions. None.
Pentagon, no questions.
I'm sure it happened exactly the way they said it. And just like with the vaccines or COVID policy or anything, if you question that, you're a white supremacist, Nazi bad person.
Of course, if you look at the World Economic Forum's website, they have a very clear minute-by-minute break.
Before we let that go, I love how my family knows I'm live. And they come in, and then I dead ass just stare at them like, get out. I'm live. I don't know how many times I have to say it. And then, oh, he's live. Get out.
Breakdown as to what happened on 9/11 that tells you the truth. No one should question that.
Tip of the hat for George Bush. The guy got to give it
You
to
know
him.
what? As it relates to my brother, there's one thing I know for sure. He kept us safe.
He knows that for sure. There's one thing I know for sure. Is cigarettes don't cause cancer. There's one thing I know for sure. No, please don't take that at face value. That's a joke. That is not. I'm not giving out medical misinformation. That is a joke. Hey, we're doing live stand.
I mean, it's just no surprise. Bush did not keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot question the narratives of the establishment once they say something, because then you're going to end up like me, demonetized on a lot of these videos are demonetized on YouTube. I'll get censored. They're going to have a problem with this video right away. By the way, they really are. And they're really gonna come after us. And you can't question the thing that goes on your arm, that whatever that word is. I don't know what that word is. I think. Do you know what that word is? I don't know. I think it starts with a one of the last few letters of the alphabet. One of the last 5 letters or something like that. It goes on your arm and it causes a lot of pain. Anyway, we can't question that. We can't even have a debate on it. We can't debate the vaccine.